Her Excellency Linda Thomas-Greenfield, and member of the Cabinet of the President of the United States.
Today we are gathered to discuss an important, historic resolution, one that will promote diplomacy, dialogue, and a lasting peace in Ukraine. We have before us a resolution that calls on the nations of the world to support diplomatic efforts to achieve a comprehensive and lasting peace in Ukraine. A peace consistent with the UN Charter, consistent with its fundamental principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and self-defense. Colleagues, this vote will go down in history. On the one-year anniversary of this conflict, we will see where the nations of the world stand on the matter of peace in Ukraine.
The world needs peace in Ukraine, and the people of Ukraine deserve peace after so much suffering. But not just any peace. We need a peace grounded in the principles of the United Nations Charter. That's why we are in this very hall.
Here we are, a year after, alive and kicking, as President Zelensky once said. And what has become more than obvious in this last 12 months is that this war is not only about Ukraine itself. It's about a very fundamental thing. It's about the principle of the territorial integrity enshrined in the United Nations Charter. It is the war against impunity. And this is why it is so critical for Ukraine and its friends, and the European Union is definitely one of the staunchest supporters and friends of Ukraine in this struggle. That's why it is so important for us to prevail. Because if we don't, which is not going to happen, but if we don't, the message to the world will be completely wrong. The message will be that you can do whatever you want and get away with it. And this is not what member states are interested in. So I came here to New York this week to work together with colleagues on the adoption of the UN General Assembly resolution about defending UN Charter and restoring peace in Ukraine. And we spent hours here talking with various countries who have various positions. But we should all be united with one goal: to defend what this organization stands for and what the United Nations Charter is based on. What is clear is that the choice is clear. You either stand by UN Charter or you stand by those who violate it, and there is nothing in between. This is a test for many countries to take the side. And as I said, it's not about taking the side of Ukraine. It's either you take the side of international law, represented by the UN Charter, or you take the side of Russia, who violates it. It's very, very simple. You can never predict the final outcome until the vote takes place. But in principle, we feel that the coalition is there. The impact is very clear. It sets the perception. It shows who stands where. And if resolutions had no impact, Russia would not be fiercely fighting against them. This is politics. I have a clear vision for Ukraine's victory even without going into World War III. It's the restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity as step one. As regards helping Russia one way or another, I want to be very clear. I know that some nations make this point that the moment you stop helping Ukraine with weapons, the war will come to an end. And when you send weapons to Ukraine, you're fueling the war. And on the other hand, some countries like North Korea, for example, or Iran, are helping Russia with weapons and claim that they have a right to do so because the other countries are helping Ukraine. But it's a hypocrisy, and a very, very simple one. Ukraine exercises its right to self-defense enshrined in the UN Charter. And when you are sending weapons to Ukraine, you are helping Ukraine to defend UN Charter. Russia violated the UN Charter by becoming an aggressor and violating and committing because they violated the border and commit atrocities. So when you are sending weapons to them, you are helping to destroy UN Charter and everything that the United Nations stand for. It's very simple. There are no two equal sides in this conflict. There is a victim of an international crime of aggression, and there is a country that committed a crime of aggression. And every country, while making its decisions, should be guided by this principle. We want fighter jets, we want everything that we need to win, and I will dare to say that probably Josep shares this vision, because he has done personally a lot to build this consensus in the European Union on the defense security assistance to Ukraine. This brings me back to my previous answer. I mean, we have a right protected by the UN Charter to receive everything that we need to exercise the right to self-defense. It's very simple. This is how international law was written, and therefore everything that we need should be given to us as soon as possible. We are using weapons which we receive from partners to strike Russia in the occupied territories of Ukraine. We can guarantee that we will be using Western weapons to liberate Ukrainian territories. We talked a lot about the principle of territorial integrity, which is common to both Ukraine and China. And again, this was a big part of our conversation. Wang Yi also shared with me some key elements of the Chinese proposal that will be put on the table within a couple of days. I know key elements, but you know, this is diplomacy. Devil hides in details, as we say. I don't know if there is such saying in China, but in Europe we have this saying, devil hides in details. So I need to see the full paper. I need to examine it. For Ukraine has its own plan, and it is supported by many countries, which is the peace formula by President Zelensky. 10 simple steps to restore peace in Ukraine and restore just peace. This will remain our top priority, but we are ready to talk with those who have other ideas which can help us achieve this goal.